Yeah, hello and welcome to another weekly Spielworks chat. We are having a regular program today, so up to 30 minutes, and I'll cover some Spielworks news plus some industry topics. And if you do have a question, either on topics I'm mentioning today or anything else, please put them in the chat window. So I will end the cost pre-orders and the 10 years of Spielworks sale this Friday. And the game will be printed next week on the 11th. And the game should be in the warehouse at the 13th. And then it will be immediately shipped to everyone who pre-ordered the game. So, and of course, thank you very much for pre-ordering and having an interest in that game. And of course, all of you failed me because I got 0 proposals for the name of the Spielworxx online convention. So really nothing. And so I had hoped for your creativity and then that. So maybe you have a nice and catchy name for that affair. And I would be very happy to hear that. And by the way, I'm currently planning the Spielworxx online convention on October 9 and on October 10. So that's Friday, Saturday, 1.5 days. And invitations to guests will go out later this week. Last Friday, I presented the Grand Trunk Journey by Claude Serrois, whom I just see in the chat here, live at BGG Conline. And while I was quite happy with the format, and I have to deeply thank Candice, Nikki, and Lincoln from BGG for their guidance and help. We also saw that the presentation of such an online affair is not that easy, because I could not really see the game board well, especially because, as you may know, Grand Trunk Journey has a few randomly placed tiles at ports and cities. And they were really difficult to see. And I even opened on my second screen the vessel module of the game, so that was somewhat helpful. But I noticed that these online conventions, and especially for games that you would like to present live and that have a large number of components and some of them quite small, that this will remain difficult in the future. And staying for a second at the topic of online conventions, I'd love to hear from you. So, well, maybe put it in the chat window. If you attended Gen Con online, and if yes, what did you watch there? And how much did you enjoy Gen Con online? And also, if you did not attend Gen Con online, what was the reason for not attending it? So I would really love to see some comments or some of your opinions on that. And as regular viewers know, I love to talk a little bit about Imperial Struggle. That's a new game by the fantastic Jason Matthews and Ananda Gupta. And in my opinion, and I'm a wargamer, as you know, that game is information overload. And but this week, or maybe this weekend, Tom Wessel put out a very thoughtful review of the game at the Dice Tower. And I agree with most of his conclusions. And I even think that the historical topic chosen is at least as interesting as the Cold War depicted in in Twilight Struggle. But I still agree with him. The game is maybe a little bit too unelegant. But check out that video. So I think it is well done and it's not that long. And as you could maybe see at the news section at my website, I've received the pre-production copy of Pax Pamir, a German edition, and it really, really looks good. And we are fully on track for October release. And so I can briefly, I'm not sure if this can be seen. So it's an original. If you have seen the English language box, then you know size and components, and there are additional photos at my website. And As already mentioned by Board Game Insider, by Stephen and Ignazi a few weeks ago, the tabletop gaming category at Kickstarter is rising again in the first few months of 2020. Despite COVID, it's rising. And while the number of new projects declined very slightly, the number of successfully funded projects increased. But in my opinion, the most important number is that the revenue increased by 46%. That's 46%. So in the first few months of this year compared to the first few months of 2019. And even if you deduct Isaac and his 20 or 50 or $100 billion for Frosthaven, the increase is still 30%, and this is really astonishing in my opinion. And to my mind, it also shows that people are prepared to spend money on that platform for their favorite hobby. It may also mean, or it may also show, the general problems distribution has, and definitely over here in Europe, but in my opinion, I think even larger problems in the US. So maybe this is another reason why more and more people are spending money on Kickstarter. But in my opinion, these numbers are really very interesting. But and Daniel is saying, I'm just seeing this, I think Frosthaven brought in $2.8 trillion. Yeah, you could be right. Absolutely true. But my main topic today is Crescent City Cargo by Jason Dinger, by the wonderful Jason. And we are 2 hours ago, we were still playing the third game in his trilogy of games, so Acadians by Vessel online with 4 players with Ode and Nick, so that was tremendous fun, and already the third game is in great shape, so I love to play online with Jason and the crew. But Crescent City Cargo is the second game in the series, and that's a series I cannot even pronounce properly. I think it is Cajun, at least, especially Matt here in the chat, he has lectured me without a lot of success several times. So we'll see. And the game, so Crescent City Cargo, that will be kickstarted by my friends at Indie Game Studio and Stronghold Games. And they will also at the same time, so if you missed that game, they will kickstarter the second edition of Captains of the Gulf. So that will happen at the same time. And I should know the date for the Kickstarter when it starts very soon. And of course, I will let you know over here. And I'll now show you a couple of illustrations from the game, and please keep in mind everything you see here is still work in progress. Of course, it's not 10% done. A lot has been done by, of course, the always amazing Harald Lieske, so he did everything over here, but still this is work in progress, so please keep this in mind. And we can start here with the cover. Let me show to you, so I'm zooming out a little bit, and there is that word I'm hating so much. So Ignazi, he always in Board Game Insider, he had problems with Amazon, and I think it's Cajun Trilogy number 2. So probably everybody over there in the US is laughing hard right now, but yeah, well, anyway, so it's for 2 to 4 players. Playing time is 60 plus minutes. Definitely if you play with 4, it will be a little bit longer, but so these are the details. So that's a cover. Then we move over to the player aid. So each player has, let me scroll to the top over here. Each player has a 2-page player aid. And so you see the sequence, the turn sequence here to the left. So what you can do, the 7 actions a player can do in his turn. And because I'm seeing Daniel there again, Daniel, of course, he has already played that game. I think it was last BGG-Con, so in November, early December. I think he was in a 4-player game of that game. And we also shown the player the office cards in the game. So each office card with number has a description over here. And then there are the goal cards of the game and what they are doing. So that's the player aid. And then we have the large cards in the game. So large cards mean it's a standard sized card, so magic, poker card. And as you may see over here, there are 26 right now in the game. So there are ships and they have several goods. And for these goods, or you have to deliver to them several goods, and then you may earn money. So there are ships, and then there are containers here. So you can also deliver goods to containers. And last but not least, there are also the office. You saw the office cards already on the player aid. So these are the large cards. But in addition to the large cards, we are having small cards. So there are 63, so that's a Catan-sized, smallish cards. We are having trucks over here. So lots of trucks where you can place your goods cubes in and then deliver them. And not only, so that of course is a truck only used in a 3-player, 3 or 4-player game, and that truck is only in a 4-player game. And then we are having trains. So these are the train cards, and they also tell you what these rail cars need to be delivered to. And then, although they are not in the right direction now, these are the goal cards you already saw earlier in the on the player aid. And next there is a punchboard sample here. So that would be the punchboard of the or the player board of the blue player. So that's his player board with room for meeples over here. That's a morale track. You can put in a worker here, and additional workers that you are not having at the start of the game are placed down here, and you can hire them during the game. And also, because this is a full punch board, you see the die lines over here. There's also money, so coins, and some markers. But I will now go to the game board. So let me open this one over here. And so it's a large game board. So I zoomed out here a lot so that you can see it maybe first a little bit better in an overview. And so it consists of 3 distinctive areas. So here at the top left, that's a warehouse area. Down here you see the port area, and this is the administrative area, and Harald has done this as a book, as you probably can see. So let me zoom in here a little bit, and we are moving first to the warehouse area. So that's this area over here. There are several parts that I'm not mentioning here in detail. For example, the truck cards that are not in play right now, they are stacked here. But the most important part is the central area here, because it shows the warehouses. And some of the houses in each area, in each part, are only used if you are playing with 3 and 4 players. And basically, each of these houses can hold a cube. So that would be a wooden cube here of one of 5 different types. And also interesting and important is that the warehouse manager, which is here, so you can see this illustration, that will be a wooden token, roughly of that shape. He is moving between the warehouses in clockwise fashion. So you see there's the arrow, and let's say he's in that top spot here, top center spot. He can pick up goods from the warehouse to his left and to his right. So that are his options. Let me zoom out here again, and we are going to the bottom part and to the port area. And the port area also has room for stuff that you have seen earlier already. So for example, ship carts randomly will be placed over here. So in these blue boxes there's a ship waiting in the harbor. And here is a train cart each, so that you can also deliver to a train in the harbor. And again, you are seeing a track here, the stevedore. The figure is here, and he also moves in clockwise fashion, but it's a little bit different over here. Let's say he's here in the center. Then you can deliver your goods that you already have to one of three different spaces. So here it would be possible to deliver to that train, and of course there is a cart on that spot, or to that spot here, or to the container cart that would be in this central spot. And if you move to the left corner here, it would be possible that he delivers to that train, to that container cart, or to that ship. And most of the time you can only move in clockwise fashion. But let's finally and quickly move to the administrative area. It consists of three distinctive tracks. Top track is a forklift track, then the gantry track, and the human resources track. And the players start from left, and hopefully they are moving to the right of each track. There are various bonuses involved with each of these tracks, and you can place a worker over here, or you must place a worker. And in order to advance on each track, let me move over here. So for example, at the top track, you need to deliver, or you need to discard an iron cube. Here it is wood, and here at human resources it's coffee. And this will help you. And getting back to the punchboard, for example, you see the coffee is also here in this cup, because each action that you are doing in the game costs you something on this track. It costs you morale. And if you are resting, then you can move up again. So coffee is an important factor in the game. So that is just a very quick overview of the actions in this game. And if you've played Captains of the Gulf, you know it's roughly 1950, 1960. And this game, as you already saw from the trucks or from the trains, of course, is from an earlier period. So Crescent City Cargo, that is a city of New Orleans. And and we are talking here about the early 20th century, when the port of New Orleans was developed. So that started in 1908, I think, and the game is at that time range. And the players, they are running a logistics company, and we try to fulfill the contracts with domestic railways, with foreign cargo ships that you saw, and that is our aim in this game. So while it's in the same series, so again, let me try it, Cajun, in the Cajun trilogy, so it's a completely different game system from Captains of the Gulf, but it's still true to that region. And although it's different from Captains of the Gulf, in my opinion at least, the game is engaging, it's different and exciting. And as you know from Jason, it's not ultra complex. This is not a Vital game with 50 pages of rules plus a glossary plus all this. But it's quite manageable, but it's a typical Spielworxx game where the topic and the theme is really strong. At least I hope so. So, if you have any questions, not only on that game, and definitely we will talk about this game when the Kickstarter campaign starts in way more detail. And I'm also hoping to having Jason as my guest then over here. So it won't be the last time that we are talking about Crescent City Cargo. So if you have any questions, put them in here, but I need to scroll back to see if there is anything that I can already answer. And please, if you have any experience or if you watch Gen Con online, I would be deeply interested what you thought about it. There's Chris. Hello, Chris. I always have time for Harald's work. Yes, I think this is, especially if you look at the details of the game board and how he did this with the book. I think this looks very nice, especially because there is also later lots of more colorful pieces on top of these spots. So we have cubes in various colors on the spots of the warehouses. The same is true for the colorful ship cards and all this. So I think this is nicely done. Yeah, and Daniel, he confirms that we played last year, and I think I was last in that game, but that's my usual position, isn't it? So, and there's Jason even. So, hey Jason, so good to see you. Yeah, it was me, Stephen, Travis, and Jason, I think. So I didn't even play, so yeah, well, hopefully that is true. No, I think Stephen did not play, so even retired Stephen, we have to say. So I think it was Travis, Nick from Indie Game Studio, you and me, but I may be wrong. And there is Matt. Hello, Matt. What didn't you play at BGG-Con? Yeah, that's true. Daniel is an animal. So I just followed Uli around the whole week and played what he told me to. So yeah. So you're a good German. You're following orders. I love that, Daniel. So it served me well. I really like the theme and the visual. Thank you, Claude. Yeah. I think this is a game that is that drips with history and with topic. Matt, I look forward to the energy drink expansion for those people who don't drink coffee. Yes, this is very good. So I will immediately write this down. So this will be the first stretch goal at Kickstarter. So that's already done. All games can be role-playing games. I agree. So when I started gaming seriously, so I'm a war gamer. So I started in '79, and my brother and I, so he's 3 years older, we bought our first serious game that was Borodino by SPI, a small war game. And that was a Napoleonic period in Russia, 1812. And we were teenagers, and for us it was a role-playing game because we were not that silly, although we are silly, that we were thinking charging across the hill, but we felt like being in Napoleonic times. So in a way, each game, even a board game, is a role-playing experience, and that's probably also why I'm leaning towards games which have a theme or a topic. It was Nick Little, not Stephen. Yes, so I think Nick played, and I think he even won, or maybe it was you. You were Uli, you did not play, you were my consultant. So that's the reason why you came in last. I agree. Nick won, yes. So yeah, do you have any questions here for on this game? Or anything on Gen Con? And please keep in mind, if you have a name, a proposal for the Spielworxx online convention in October, I'd love to hear this from you. And there is Stefan. This is Stefan. Hi. Stefan Risthaus. I think so, at least from his nick. Gen Con showed that board games are not made for computers. Or at least we all have to learn how to use the tools smoothly. Yes, I agree. So I watched a couple of, it was not only my presentation, I watched a couple of presentations, and I think everybody did a wonderful job. So I'm not blaming this on anybody who did this. Far from it. I know how much work it is, but it's a different thing if you are talking to a screen than playing with others. And quite a few people are not used to playing Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator. Quite a few do not have Tabletop Simulator, which was used a lot at Gen Con. And you know it's not a free program, so you first need to buy it and need some experience. So it's definitely different. And I didn't watch that much, but I was a little bit underwhelmed. So I think it's important that it stays here. Also when maybe in 2022, maybe already earlier, when the physical standard convention can happen, this should be a small part of a convention, of a standard convention, especially if you are living far away from the US or from Europe and can't easily attend Gen Con or Spiel Digital in Essen. But it's different, and I'm still skeptical. So thank you, Stefan, for this. And there's a question: which game is this? This is, I think this is just so that I pronounce it, the title again. So this is Crescent City Cargo by Jason Dinger, and it's a second part of the Cajun trilogy. So this game will be kickstarted soon by Indie Game Studio and Stronghold Games. And Stefan is confirming, yes, true, they did a good job, but scrolling makes gaming and explaining slower. It is. Yeah, and Daniel, he is even an optimist. So he's not only German because he's following orders easily, but he says Tabletop Simulator makes everything twice as long. I'd say 3 times as long. Yeah, so what can you do? Tony, am I late? Did I miss anything? First, am I late? Yes. Did I miss anything? Not really. So it's just me talking. So it's not that much. So of course we were talking earlier about you, and so you can imagine what that was. Danny is saying, Uli, I'm sure Uli can start over for you, Tony. So yes, that's true. And Claude is saying, I only watched your GTJ presentation at Gen Con Online. You did a very good job, but felt it was very difficult for you to give an example of a term. The rest was easier. Yes, I agree, Claude. So thank you for. I did my best. So it was okayish, but you see, I'm sitting here, and I'm explaining to people that are at a physical table what a game turn is. So they don't necessarily know the rules. So if I'm saying take the destination card, discard it and put that card in there, or I would like to take that action from that card, they don't know it. So it's so difficult. If I'm sitting together with a wonderful, I can only repeat this, wonderful BGG people at one table, I grab the card myself and I move it around. And so everything is so much smoother. But yeah, it is what it is. Stefan is saying the explaining person must have control over the screen. I agree on what I just said. Only then explaining can work smoothly. 100% sure. I would have even said if I had done this explanation with a vessel module, this would be much easier for me and much easier to follow for the people. But they wanted to have a live presentation, which has, of course, some advantages because you see people. And seeing people is also, in my opinion, or should not be underestimated. Or Nick, hello Nick. 60 minutes is a veritable sprint for a Spielworxx game. Is an hour likely on a first outing with 4 players? No. I'd say no, it's not possible. First game with 4 players will be longer. And the first game with 4 players can be up to 120 minutes. But with 2 players who are experienced, definitely 60 minutes is possible. That's why we have this plus in there. So it's 60 to 2,000 minutes. No, 60 to 120 should be okay. Yeah, so we are talking for 30 minutes. Do you have any questions anymore, any comments so that I can answer? Otherwise, I would say we finish this. So there's another question from Claude. Without revealing too many things, what kind of content are you planning to propose for your Spielworxx convention? So it will be a mixture. So I will have interviews with several persons. So we will talk about future Spielworxx games. We will just chat a little bit. And another larger part will be online games. So we will definitely be able to play a few of the recent games. But I try to have a mixture of these two elements, and I can also already confirm that I'm not using Tabletopia or a tabletop simulator, because I would rather have root canal at the dentist than going through this. But I will be using Vessel, and it will be also that in the morning there is more content, or Saturday morning for Europeans, whereas later when Americans can watch, there will be more content that is for them. It will be in English language, of course, sort of. So my English and the great English by my guests. So yeah, that's what I'm planning for. Daniel, Crescent is pronounced Crescent. So Crescent City Cargo. So I knew there would be something wrong. And there's Jason. As a designer, I appreciate the work everyone puts into online conventions. But as a gamer, I have to admit that it's hard to get excited about an online con. Yeah, for me, conventions are all about the people I get to meet in person, share a meal with, and play games with. Yes, this is a social hobby. 100% in agreement here, Jason. And it's something different. But if it's the only thing we can have right now, maybe it's better than having nothing. So we just have to see that it has a lot of limitations. And by the way, I just saw half an hour ago, or 45 minutes ago, I saw that the wonderful Gil Hover, he put in his blog a recap of what he thinks about Gen Con Online. I just took a quick look. I will have to look at it in more detail later or tomorrow, but Gil has his thoughts already put out, so it's maybe worthwhile to check that out. So yeah, Gil did a nice wrap up. So let me finish this for today. So as always, thank you very much for your time. And if you would like to see a special topic discussed in advance, or have a specific question that you would like to see me answer in the next show, please drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. And by the way, next week we will have another guest over here. It will be, and he's in the chat, it is Stefan Risthaus. And he is the designer, of course, among many other games, of Gentes and Orkrite. So we will have him here. And I can already say, Stefan and we will make, at least to me, a very exciting announcement. So till then, bleibt gesund, Black Lives Matter.